Hey everyone, welcome to Singularity Beast 2 Build Log Part 7. Now if you remember at the end of Part 6 I'd just finished removing the graphics cards from my old system, the Singularity Beast, and I was preparing to put them into the new system. I'm now going to follow directly on from there. Okay, I'm now just going to slide the graphics cards into the new build. Just open up all of those slots. And this is sometimes difficult, but you know, because these cards are extremely heavy. Now I'm just going to start putting the screws in. Okay, that should get it. Just got to put this SLI bridge on properly. Okay, there was actually something stopping the SLI bridge. If you can see that, there's some little tabs on the top there, and they're not on the other side. And if you look at this one, okay, that's the right way up, the tabs are on the top. Well, on the other one, the tabs are on the bottom. And if you look at how close the water block comes to the PCB, there's only a small gap and it's not big enough to fit those tabs in. So those little tab things there are actually stopping the SLI bridge from going on, unless I turn them the SLI bridge upside down with the tabs facing up the other way. So I've had to turn the SLI bridge upside down, which I'm sure I'm going to get like a billion comments, why is your SLI bridge upside down? But yeah, I really have no choice, I'm afraid, unfortunately. So I'm going to get all these screws tightened up now. And also I need to install my sound card. Okay, I've just got the sound card here, ready to be installed. So this is the Sound Blaster X-Fire Titanium HD. It's one of the components that I forgot to mention that I would be taking from the Singularity Beast and installing into this system. So there it is. I've got a product overview of this card on my channel. I'll put a link on the screen, so for details check that out. I've also mentioned it previously in the Singularity Beast upgrade videos. So a little bit difficult to get the sound card up in there. I could have installed it first, but you know, just in case. It's very difficult to get all three of those graphics cards in there at the same time. You wouldn't believe how heavy they actually are. Just a look down there at the sound card. I mean, I'll be giving you a very good look at all of this later on in future videos. So I won't give you too much of a look at it yet, but yeah, once I've completely finished it all and the final order's arrived, I've got everything exactly how I want it, you know, with all the other extension cables that I've mentioned, etc. I'll do a specifications video on it like I did with the Singularity Beast. Okay, I'm going to get that tubing installed. These are the tubing cutters that I'm using. They're kind of overkill, but you know, they do the job nicely. So normally I'd actually put the tubing down there and measure it out, but I'm just going to take a bit of a guess at this one. I'm going to do the top one first. Doesn't matter if I waste an inch or so in guessing. Okay, make sure that the top side there is a nice clean cut, because that's the one that's staying. And I've now got, basically, I just put the tubing straight because it's always curved from being coiled up, and then I just put my finger on it where it needs to be cut, and then yeah, just got my finger on it there and bring the blade down onto it. So just screwing the one side of the compression fitting off on each compression fitting. Make sure that the fittings are tight before you put the tubing on, because once it's on you won't be able to, you know, rotate them anymore. Just do that, and what I do is wet the compression fittings to help the tubing slide on a bit, so just get a bit of coolant. Yeah, I'm not meant to be, didn't mean to be doing a tutorial here, but I just thought I'd take the opportunity to show you guys how all of this works, because I know a lot of you are very curious, and you know, I've got a lot of aspiring water coolers and people who would love to do it in the future. I think, you know, the only thing that stops a lot of people doing water cooling is, well, first thing is the money, but you know, you can do this on the cheap. You don't have to go crazy like I have with this build. And that's something that I've had a couple of requests for, actually, to, you know, do a couple of budget gaming systems. And it's something that I'm definitely going to show on my channel in the near future. And I've done it before. You know, I did the Cosmos S system. That was certainly a budget water cooling system. And yeah, just examples like that show that you really don't have to go all out. You don't have to go crazy. I'm just trying to get this tubing on the right angle so it doesn't have a curve in it, and yeah, that's about it. The top tube is done. Okay, here's one of the pumps out of the Singularity Beast, and this has got the silver version of the mod kit on the back. So it's exactly the same as the one that I'm using, except this is silver, mine is matte black. It's also got the silver mount. So this is got a full bits power mod kit on it. It's got the single pump top on the front. So mine, the one that I'm using in the Singularity Beast 2 is just a dual version of this. So there we go. Now I'm going to pull it all apart. Okay, there's the actual pump itself. 4-pin Molex connector. That plugs into the motherboard to read the RPM of the pump. So now I have to get the wiring through that small hole, which means I need to pull off that Molex connector. So a little bit of a pain, but just to look at the pump itself. So the unit is very small but extremely powerful. These pumps can put up 50 psi. There it is there, which is pretty crazy. I think they're about, I've seen them doing about 4,300 RPM constantly. They pump 1,200 litres per hour. The O-ring for it is still in the pump. You can see it there in the pump top. I'm pretty sure that I've got O-rings for the other one. They would have come included, there's no doubt about that. And there's the back part there. So yeah, that's the black parts that I'm unscrewing off, that I've got screwed on the dual pump top. Okay, that's it there. I've already put the O-ring in the pump top side of things, so the O-ring's already in there. Now I've just got to push this pump into the pump top. So yeah, the pump's inside the mod kit. I actually had to pull off the 3-pin fan connection off the end there, as well as the 4-pin Molex connections, just to get them through those holes there. So I'm now going to screw this onto the pump top. Alright, I'm going to do the difficult one first, which is the one behind the reservoir. And it's also got all of the wiring in the way, all the SATA cables. So I'm just screwing it on there now. And that's it. Now I've just got to tighten it up and get the other pump installed. Alright, I've gone ahead and put everything in except for the hard drives. And I did this because, yeah, there was really no steps to show you once the graphics cards and pumps were in. Yeah, it was just a matter of tubing up. I've got that quick disconnect there. It's not quite in the middle, You know, you can see one tube is shorter on one side, but seriously, that stuff just doesn't matter a whole lot. The fittings that I've chosen, the angles of them are perfect. You know, it all works very well. I'm not going to spend too long looking at all that though, because yeah, you are going to be seeing a lot of this. Like once it's all finished off, I'm going to go over it very slowly and talk about everything. For now, I'm just very keen to get this thing booted up. Yeah, I've got all the graphics cards wired up there, nice and neat. I'll just use one of those Velcro ties back there behind the reservoir where you can't even see it. And if you look at it as a whole, I've got the Singularity Beast sitting down here ready to put up on the table to work on, so I've stripped everything out of there except for the hard drives. So yeah, I've got the graphics cards out, the power supply, the pumps, so yeah, it's real empty now. I won't bother showing you that properly yet, because that's actually going to be in another video which you're going to be seeing shortly. Look at the dust on that radiator, that is unbelievable. So, looking at it as a whole, you know, you can see there is a blank spot up in the top right hand corner, a big blank spot, but it doesn't matter, because with the side panel on, as I mentioned previously, the side panel window is the same size as the motherboard tray. So it includes the area where everything is. So as you can see, the other power supply is installed, and doesn't it look amazing with two power supplies? This is actually the first system that I've run dual power supplies on, and yeah, I can't wait to crank it up and see how it goes. Well, everything's connected up except for the hard drives now. You can see I've run all of the wiring for the graphics cards through here, and this is the 24-pin motherboard power from the other power supply. So that comes from, yeah, from here, goes around there in a loop and then down, and behind there it connects up into to the dual power supply starter. So yeah, I've got all three graphics cards running from this power supply and the rest from this one. So I'm pretty happy with the wiring. Looking through the camera screen, it really looks a bit messy, but yeah, in person it doesn't look too bad at all. I mean, this is all for the hard drives, so you know, don't worry about any of that. That's all going to be neat, and so is this, and as I've said, some of it's temp wiring. So yeah, that's about it. All the graphics cards are wired up, the second power supply is wired up. That's about all I can show you for now. I'm now going to install the hard drives. Okay, that's it. The hard drives are connected. All the wiring is done, at least for now, until that final order arrives with the extension cables that I've mentioned. And yeah, then I'll be going around and doing a cleanup of the wiring. Yeah, you can see there the hard drives are connected up. Now, that's really as neat as I can get it with, you know, with the cables that come with the power supplies, because there's just too much length between each SATA power connector to be able to, you know, clean it up properly. I mean, I could push them down in between each of the hard drives, but then you got to really bend the cables a lot. And so what I'm going to do in the final order is get a custom SATA power cable. Behind that is the SATA data cables, and they're pretty clean. You can see they come out just there at the bottom, and you know, they go straight through and out to the motherboard. They're 300mm Phobia SATA 3 connectors, cables, sorry. So yeah, they're pretty clean. It's just the SATA power connectors that look a bit messy. So that's why I've left this last order, so that I can put all these things in it that I come across, because I want to get this build perfect. So that's all pretty clean down there. I was happy with how I got that, because that's all the connectors for the 4 case fans up the front there. So yeah, you can see the fans for the hard drive cages there. Yeah, the other thing is I'm probably going to put 2 more case fans here and here, because yeah, it fits 4 120mm fans all the way across the bottom here, obviously, because it can fit a 480mm radiator there. And I was very happy that the only bit of wiring that I had to put on the bottom of the case was the X station, and the rest of it I've either suspended away from the motherboard tray, because you know that's why all these cables are suspended out here, because I don't want them hooked up to the motherboard tray because it's removable. You know, that's something that I had to take into consideration with every cable that I ran in this build. That motherboard tray has to be removable. So most of them are suspended. Yeah, the rest of them are behind those hard drive cages connected to the case. So it leaves me room here to run, so yeah, that's temporary there, so don't worry about that. But it leaves me room here to run 2 more case fans to suck cold air in the bottom and bring cold air to the power supplies, because you know the fans of the power supplies are behind there, and there's about a 50mm gap between the power supplies and the motherboard tray. So it'd be nice to have some cool air coming up from the bottom past the power supplies. They can suck some of it out, and then the rest of it will hit this radiator up here. And then I've got all 4 fans on the front sucking in as well. So yeah, I've talked about my thermal design already, but I'll just go over it again. All the front fans are sucking in. All the top fans on the radiators are sucking out, and the bottom radiator on the other side, all 4 fans are sucking in. 10 sucking out, 11 sucking in, and that's how I wanted it. I wanted that positive pressure inside the case so that dust doesn't get sucked in through the cracks. You know, if there's positive pressure in the case, it'll push air out through the cracks instead of sucking it in through the cracks. And then to create even more positive pressure, which I want, you know, that's how I want it, 2 fans down here would be great. Anyway, I need to get on with it and get this loop filled and get this system up and running. Okay, at last I get to show you the system up and running. It's actually been up and running for a few days now. You'll have to forgive me, I couldn't show you the filling of the loop and booting the system for the first time, because by the time I got to it, it was after midnight. I'd been working on the system all day, I was exhausted, and I also ran into a few little problems which I'm going to have to talk about in part 8. But don't worry, I'm doing a water cooling tutorial coming up shortly. I'm going to be building a high-end system and showing you every little step, and I'm going to be showing the filling of the loop and booting the system for the first time. So what you've missed out on with this system, you're definitely going to be seeing coming up shortly on my channel. It's pretty straightforward anyway. You know, you just fill the reservoir, hit the power button, the pump suck the reservoir dry, fill it again, and so on until the loop is full and it stops sucking air. And then, you know, you've just got to wait for all the air bubbles to come out, and you just keep topping it up. It actually needs another top up now. So I've still got so much to cover. You know, I've got the performance and temperature results and the overclocking. I want to look at all the features of the Rampage 4 in action. I've got to talk about, yeah, the problems that I ran into and why I've changed the configuration. You can probably see that this tube here used to run to here, but I had to change that because of, yeah, a problem I ran into. I'm also running a smaller reservoir. This is the same type of reservoir, it's a bits power. But instead of the 250mm reservoir that I was running, I'm running a 150mm now. And that's because of, yeah, I've got 2 reasons, good reasons that I had to do that. But I actually prefer this reservoir. I think it looks better in this build. You know, the aesthetics are better because it's the same distance from the bottom of the reservoir to the bottom of the system as it is from the top of the reservoir to the top of the system. Well, almost. And you know, I much prefer this smaller reservoir because the other one was just unnecessarily big. So I'm very happy with the way things are gone. I'm absolutely stoked with the build. Also in part 8, I need to, you know, I'm going to go over everything in detail, give you a look around, a good look around the build, you know, give you another look at the wiring, how I wired up the pumps. I've actually got the pump's wired up to the motherboard here. The motherboard's not powering them, they're powered by 4-pin Molex, but yeah, this is the RPM. The RPM sensor is going to the motherboard, so I'm able to see the RPM of the pumps within the OS and in the BIOS. Yeah, just another little thing that'll definitely be changing is those LEDs. They're supposed to be UV, but they look purple. Same with the ones in the EK Supreme HF, so I'll be changing them to red and putting those in the final order. I just thought I'd quickly show you the system with the side panel on. It looks absolutely awesome. I'm really happy with it. For the past few days I've just been making the most of it and doing a lot of gaming, but what I've actually been doing is burning the system in, making sure it's 100% rock solid stable before I start overclocking, because you don't want to start overclocking until you know that your system is 100% stable. Otherwise you could mistake instability, that's faulty hardware, for your overclocking settings. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like and favorite if you want to see more. Thanks everyone.